Welcome to Next to Madison, a podcast to help you live your best life.
Episode of Next to Madison. I am your host, Madison Malloy, and on this episode, we are going to dive into the world of marketing. We have done marketing episodes before, but this one's going to be a little different. We're actually sitting down with a CEO of a pet marketing agency. We've all seen that a lot of these pets are making a ton of money. We follow them on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, on other social platforms that we love. And they just bring so much joy to see these adorable animals in either cute outfits or doing cute things. And so we are going to kind of dive into that world. So if you have a pet that you think is adorable and you want the world to be introduced, this episode is going to be for you. But it's not just it's kind of marketing in general, right? So if you don't have a pet and you don't want to do an Instagram for your pet or a social media for your pet, that's not a problem. This is going to teach, really kind of go over the whole thing of branding and marketing and why it's so important to kind of, build out that brand so you can expand on your business, whether it's in skincare and healthcare, whatever you're doing. But our guest today specifically works kind of with pets. So you're going to pick up some good information. I'm excited to sit down with this woman. It'll be a very interesting thing. As I've mentioned before, I have an adorable little dog named Deborah Joy, and I set her up an Instagram account. And of course, I haven't stayed on top of it. But yeah, I need to, because she's just the love of my life. And animals are the best. If you feel there's something missing in your life, definitely get an animal. It's just the love that you just can't describe. But yeah, I'm still in New York. I'm still running around on the book tour, doing a lot of exciting things. So yes, I have to say I'm in New York, because I feel like no matter what floor you're on, there's always noise, because it's New York. It never stops. So just want to say thank you to everyone who has supported me, shared the book, bought the book. Please leave a review if you purchased the book. Hearing a lot of great things that is changing people's lives. So I couldn't be more grateful. Thank you. And thank you for always tuning in to this show. Please don't forget to rate, subscribe, share. It helps us so much so we can continue bringing you amazing episodes to give you the information to make you happier, healthier, and wealthier. So we'll be right back with this brief announcement with our guest on this episode of Next to Madison.
Hey, it's Madison Malloy. I'm excited to announce that my new book, Time to Lighten the Fuck Up, is now available online and in stores. You can pick up your copy today by going to Amazon or barnesandnoble.com. This new book is a humorous self-help guide to help you remove the obstacles that are holding you back so you can take things less seriously and live a more enjoyable life. I'm so excited for you to read it. Now back to the show.
We are with our guest on this episode of Next to Madison, episode 185. I would like to welcome the CEO of Dog Spotted, Jamie Ruden. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to have you. We've had on other marketing people, and I just love talking about marketing. People don't tune out. This is for everybody. Because I always felt like it's something that, not that I'm like lacking, but I building a brand and being able to market yourself properly and really tuning into the proper message, whether you're a business or an influencer, a speaker or an author like myself, it's just always so important. So I always feel that I learned something to expand like my brand and my knowledge. So, excited to have you on. Congratulations. You started this amazing company called Dog Spotted, which targets, pet companies. Fun fact, did you know that I used to work in the pet industry?
No.
I did. We had a B2B like a B2B website where we would hook retailers and manufacturers, specifically smaller retailers who couldn't get into mass distribution chains. And,
right.
Unfortunately, we had some kind of challenges and differences of opinions to grow and kind of where we wanted to see the business. So it didn't really work out, but thank God it didn't, because then I became a comedian, and now I have a book, and now I have the podcast. So things happen for a reason. And remember that, folks, like we're going into a very, very tough economic time. Okay. And people are getting scared. They're getting nervous. People are getting laid off like crazy. You have to remember that sometimes what seems like just an unbearable thing to deal with, financial stress, is absolutely horrific. You have to see the positive, because in a recession, more millionaires and billionaires are created. And so maybe this episode might just inspire you during this economic downturn to take a chance and start a new business. And the pet industry is a booming market. When I was in it 12, 13 years, 14 years ago, it was so big, and now it's even bigger. So, so tell us about Dog Spotted and what was the inspiration behind jumping into this?
Yeah. So Dog Spotted, I started about 2 years ago, and that was really heavily focused on community and authentic, reliable, and accessible information. And to that end, with marketing was where Bee Spotted was born out of that pivot. So it all started with Dog Spotted, meeting pet parents, meeting experts, and seeing the need for people needing that accessible information. So, for example, for the holidays, people want to share their food not only with their friends and families, but with their dogs too. And there are certain foods, obviously, that are dog friendly and aren't. An obvious one is chocolate, right? One that people don't know about, this is a funny anecdote. So I live in New York City with my dog, and for some reason, our streets are always just strewn with like chicken bones, gum, like just trash, like piles of rice, you name it. And one of the first weeks we had her, she's so fast, she chewed a piece of gum. And at the time, I didn't know anything like was gum good or bad. I never thought about gum like with the dog. So I called my vet and I said, hey, I think my dog ate gum off the street. Is this dangerous? Is it okay? She goes, well, was it sugar-free gum? It's like, how would I know?
Yeah, right?
Off the street if it was sugar-free or not. She goes, well, if it's sugar-free, it's the same idea as chocolate, because they both have the same ingredient that's toxic, which is Exidol. So we ended up having to go to the vet and get her stomach pumped because we didn't know what kind of gum it was. So something that's really important is having that critical information during the holidays. They can't just eat everything as much as we would love them to, and to think about it. So Dog Spotted was really a place for people who's judgment-free, meeting other like-minded dog parents in New York. But the more critical need that I saw in the B2B space was the issue that pet businesses aren't able to articulate exactly what I like to call as their superpower. So for example, a dog trainer, instead of saying, I train all dogs, every age, every problem, it's like, really every single dog on the planet, right? Like, I doubt it. So instead, pick what you enjoy doing and teaching. So let's say it would be separation anxiety. Again, another one, maybe you're traveling for the night for a Friendsgiving or a Christmas or some sort of holiday party and you have to leave your dog behind. Wouldn't it be nice that your dog isn't freaking out and your neighbors aren't pissed that your dog is barking nonstop? That problem is so painful because your neighbors are like, I'm going to get you kicked out. Be the specialist to solve that problem and showcase that versus saying I solve everything and everyone, because then you're just competing with all the other generalists,
Right. Well, it's always good to find like what is a unique hook and then dive into that. I mean, I did the thing with my book. It was like, yeah, the book covers so many different things and helps you improve your life. But when you're working on booking certain shows and TV appearances, it's like, what in this book separates you from the pack, right? Because for me, it was like so many self-help books.
Right.
Well, my difference and my advice on building confidence and how to not be offended was a unique talking point, and what it does to your body and your immune system and how it goes through everything. All of a sudden, people started calling back, doors were opening, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, it's always finding that unique angle and really diving into it. So very well said.
Yeah. And with the different shows, right? I'm sure each show has a different audience. So to your point with your book, right? Maybe audience A resonates with chapter 1, but audience B resonates with chapter 7. So it's really also understanding who's your audience and speaking to their specific problem.
Yeah. And I think that goes with everything. I mean, I'm, going into public speaking now, and it's kind of like, who's your audience? You're building your brand, or you're building your talk, or you're building a book for a specific audience. So if you're somebody who got laid off from their job, and maybe you want to start a pet related business or any business, really figure out your audience, figure out your target market, and then dive backwards into that. What is this group of people need, right? They always say most successful businesses go where there's chaos.
Yeah.
I'm a solution.
100,000,000%. And it's funny, even with dog treats, for example, like if the treat is some organic, freshly picked out of their garden tree, and they charge a higher price because of all this work. Like I think of my lovely boomer dad, he could care less about that. He's just like, what's fast, what's easy. Or someone maybe that goes to Whole Foods and reads every ingredient on the back of the labels, like, oh my God, if I could only have that for myself, I'm going to definitely get that for my dog. Because to your point, the evolution of the pet space is fascinating, and that in the day, dogs slept outside and now they're in our beds.
Yeah, I know. I keep seeing articles of they're like, this is why your dog shouldn't sleep in your bed. And I just go, delete. I don't want to know.
Right.
I don't want to know. I'm taking, like, my dog is sleeping in my bed. I don't care what's in it. I don't want to know. Don't want to know.
Exactly.
My daughter, I'm not putting her on the floor.
I say my dog's my firstborn, so I totally appreciate that.
Totally, right?
100%. But I think to your point, marketing is just a really good skill set, because as an entrepreneur in any business, you're the marketer, you're the salesperson, you're the creator, you're wearing 17 different hats at once. And you may not be an expert in all of it, and that's okay, but at least to be cognizant of your gaps and seek that help to be at least an expert in your own little domain.
Yeah. And that's the key word. So hopefully people that are listening to this are going to start a company if they're miserable, because I want everybody to like live their best lives. And I just feel like the pet business is when I was there, what I learned and what I experienced going to, to these different trade shows is how wonderful the people are. Because I just feel like pet people are we're great. We're the best people, like
I couldn't agree more. It's super warm. I think
wonderful.
And they're passionate about it, right? Like, I don't think people grow up to say, I want to work in insurance.
Yeah, no. You made a lot of money in insurance, but I don't know.
But that's the point, right? The pet people you meet, they're just so passionate. They put their heart and their soul into it, where just again, the example of insurance, I don't know how much of my heart and soul is going to go into finding a quote for, this medical thing or whatever. So it's totally about finding your passion, and with you, right? Finding comedy and creating all these amazing resources for people to be their best self. I mean, couldn't be better.
Yeah, I know. It took me a while to find it. They always say, in comedy, it's always that thing, finding your voice, but in business, it's like finding your voice, in a way, finding your product that solves a problem for your audience. So, it's just unbelievable. Anything's possible if you put your mind to it and you're passionate about it. I do believe that, but be realistic about your goals, because not all goals mean you're going to make money.
That is 100%. Well, I guess, I think people also have amazing ideas and then they just go to them. And that's kind of what happened with Dog Spotted. Is I was like, I see this problem as an outsider. Let me go solve it and talk to the vets about it. And then what I realized is the most painful pain point for the vets wasn't teaching them how to best market themselves, these mom and pops, because they're then competing with these VC companies that have all this crazy marketing budget. They were like, Jamie, everyone and their mother got a dog during COVID. That's not our problem. Do you know any vets we can hire? And I was like, shoot, this is a consistent pain point I'm hearing, and that's not a problem I can solve. Vets just don't grow on trees. And that's why the pivot happened, because there were other dog businesses that were like seeing what I was doing and were like, help me. So I decided to focus my energy there. So to that point for businesses, before you go up and running, because who doesn't get jazzed with an idea?
Yeah.
Talk to who your client would be, your ideal client. They'll tell you if you're right or wrong.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's amazing. It really is, like, just, doing it. So let's dive into, let's just give an example of, a veterinarian clinic that's trying to grow. How would you kind of best facilitate them to get to the level they want to be at?
Yeah, I'll talk about a clinic I was actually advising in Brooklyn. Have you ever heard of fear free, like certified fear free in terms of a vet space?
No?
So that's one thing, they'll say that and no one knows what that means. So one, I tell them to explain it. So what it means is, when you go to the vet, it kind of feels like rush, rush, rush. They're like, okay, what's your dog's problem? This is what we'll do. And you're in and out, because they're trying to see obviously as many patients as possible. And you could tell that dog is like on edge, stress, like, I don't want to be here. Take me anywhere else. Fear free. It's honestly, I will never go probably to a vet that isn't fear free. They teach the vets how to make the pet feel comfortable. So it has to do with sounds. It can do with smells. One vet that I went to that was fear free gave my dog a toy that she could play with, like making the vet a positive experience. And we were there honestly for like 2 hours, which I was okay with because she was happier, my dog.
Yeah.
And so this vet does that, and they just say we're fear free, but no one really knows what that means, right? And the
Yeah.
experience your pet can have, which is especially for dogs with already high anxiety, imagine their level when they go to the vet. So instead of just saying we're a vet, like a GP, right, as you would for a doctor, I said you should say you're a GP that specializes working with dogs with anxiety, because you have the resources to make it a better experience. And that's how they're going to stand out.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah.
I take my dog to this groomer in Colorado, and the lady's good. She trims her face. She doesn't make her look like a poodle, because she's not. She's only half poodle. So she cuts her cute,
Only
right?
a little bit.
Yeah. I'm like, she used to make her head so poofy. I'm like, she's not a Bichon. Calm it down. So
Right,
finally,
chill.
yeah, she kind of got it. But when I take Deborah there, Deborah's my dog.
Dead, great name.
Deborah Joy is the full name. Deborah Joy Malloy. She's, as soon as we pull up, I look back and she's just shaking. And I feel so bad, but like everybody else makes her look terrible.
Right.
It's kind of like some of these groomers, you drop your dog off you drop this cute little fuzzy dog off and you pick up a rubber chicken. You're like, what the heck happened here?
It's so true. It's so true that it's like they don't even look like the same dog. That's like, who is this? Are you sure is this Deborah?
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, sorry, Deborah, but this is for me. This is for you, but it's also for mommy. Like, but I think she just gets nervous. I think the woman could be a little aggressive, but she's got a lot of dogs and it's great. But yeah, that woman could definitely use some work with the dogs. But yeah, she hates it. I'm like, I need an anxiety-free groomer that's not going to make it look like a chicken.
That's the dream. And that's like, to that end, like groomers, it's a really interesting space. As you know, it probably takes a while for you to get an appointment. It's so competitive, even as a dog parent. So maybe they unfortunately don't feel as need to improve their business, right? Because there's just such a demand. But for businesses that are looking to stand out, if you can pinpoint that pain and make it into your strength, they're going to say, here's my wallet, take it, please.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, exactly. And then this woman, maybe she didn't have, maybe Deborah doesn't like her that much, but she provides a great haircut and I pick up a cute little fuzzy dog. That's
right.
Fine. So, and I don't have to wash her because she doesn't like it. So I'm like, I don't want to scare you. So I'm just going to make something else scare you.
Right.
But yeah, it's very interesting. So besides just the pet, let's take basically what you kind of do in your in the pet business, but let's make it more relatable to anything, because I do feel that we are on the precipice of some amazing new businesses starting. Remember the last financial crisis in 2008? What did we get? We got a lot. We got Uber, Instagram, Snapchat.
Yeah.
Chris. There's so many businesses. So let's kind of focus on your best advice for starting a business.
Yeah. I would say don't take the validation from friends and family as your running point, if you will. There's a great book. I was talking about this earlier with someone. There's a book called The Mom Test, because our moms, our friends just love us to bits, but they want us to be happy, and they're likely not the one to give us critical feedback versus someone that you don't necessarily know, right? So I think a lot of businesses start because they have an intuition, or their friends and family are like, that's great, go for it, you know what you're doing. And you're like, yeah. And then you get there, and then your clients, like my experience, right, was like, I need vets. I don't need you to make my website or anything, you know what I mean? Prettier.
Yeah.
And everyone else was like rooting for me in the back. And I was like, yeah, I got this. The more vets I talked to, and there were some vets that I have worked with, but it was not enough of a strong, painful point. So my biggest advice would be is write down your idea, make a hypothesis of what you think their biggest pain point is, and then ask them, because that's the best person to talk to, is who your person would be. And to that end, and this was something I struggled with, pricing. Pricing is such a hard exercise. And I think especially for women.
Yeah.
Right? When you go into a job interview, you always undersell yourself because you want to get a job, where men always ask for like 3 times as much.
Yeah.
So I think, one, don't undersell yourself, but 2, a good exercise, instead of saying, how much would you pay for this? Right? Because that comes off a little aggressive. You could say something like, if I offer X service or product, what would be prohibitively expensive? And what would you consider cheap? And then find a number in the middle. That's a way of getting their opinion without offending them.
Okay, great. What else?
So that would be my advice for people. Talk to the person that would actually buy your product, not just your mom.
Yeah.
And 2, ask those pricing questions. They're uncomfortable, but instead of just pulling a number out of your, excuse my language, ass.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's based on nothing. Find out what they're actually willing to pay.
I mean, that's brilliant, because you can really do anything with obviously a product and or a service, you know. Because and you nailed it right there. It's like, us women, we don't know how to properly ask for what we deserve. And sometimes a strategy that I've actually learned from somebody was, sometimes when they give you the number, like if you're invited to speak or something like that, and they say, oh, we're going to pay you $5,000 for 30 minutes. Don't react.
Yeah, be
Sometimes
cool.
that silence can actually, they'll be like, oh, is that not enough? How's 10?
Right.
And they ended up getting 20 because they didn't know, because in their own mind, they were new, and they were going, am I worth for 20 minutes, for 30 minutes? Am I worth this? Can I do this? And by the time they left, it was 20 something grand.
I think part of that as well is it's like dating, right? Like, I play cool. You can't just be like, pick me, I want to go on the date. And like, your point. And even like if you're doing some sort of correspondence, and I know this is silly, but sometimes pause. I know you want to get back and get the sale moving, but like, give them a minute to think about it, to digest, and they might just realize, holy shit, they're right. Or, you know what I mean? Let them sink with it versus just being so reactionary.
Yeah, no, it's true. It can kind of go in like all different, levels, because like there's a big boom in like coaching businesses, like you see all these business coaches, and people are asking me like, are you going to be a coach? I'm like, I've given so much free advice away. I might as well start charging for it. I swear, you write one self-help book, and all of a sudden you become the one on speed dial when shit hits the fan for people, and you're like, shit. Really? No, and I love helping people. I really do. But I'm like, I might be able to make some money off this.
Yeah, coaching is a great way. It's funny because before I started doing that, I thought it was a bit of a saturated market. But again,
no, it's growing like crazy. It's nuts.
It's nuts. But what I think is a really great way to frame it is, for example, for self-help or for marketing or whatever it may be, the amount of time and research and energy you've put to learn this skill set, let's call it a decade, right? They have a decade worth of time to cultivate that skill? No. So by paying you, they get the shortcut to all of that knowledge like that.
Yes. That is a good way to think about it. And that can also build confidence too. Because sometimes it's just those simple mental changes to where you kind of switch the view that you're looking at things. You know, sometimes like, especially, you know, in business and or dating or relationships or whatever, you know, rejection, nobody likes rejection.
No.
But I always say rejection is the best thing that can happen to you. I've always heard this quote. It's not my quote, so I can't take credit for it. But rejection is God's protection. God, I hate and love New York City. I tell you, I am like way up in the sky, and somehow it's just craziness going on outside. So please ignore it. New York. No, I love New York. I do. Love-hate relationship with New York, right?
Yeah. So we all.
Out of the year. So
yeah.
Holy, they're coming to get me. They're coming to get me. No, but what was I saying before this obnoxious?
You were no. You were
right
talking
outside my window, of course. Go figure.
You were talking about the mind shift in terms of, like, we were talking about saying how coaching, you get a shortcut, right? To then, instead of spending all those years wasted and figuring it out on your own, and how
yes, rejection, right when the ambulance and the sirens came by, right?
Right.
Okay. Yeah, no, rejection is God's protection. And I talked about this on somebody else's podcast where I said, you know, it's a good thing, because instead of getting upset when somebody says no, or doesn't like you, or doesn't call you, or ghost you, or whatever it is in the situation, what if you just thought about it as, hey, when I came to planet Earth, there was X amount of doors that were closed in my face. Before the door, which is everything I've ever wanted and desire and dream, is behind the door. But I can't get to that door. I can't get to door number 60 until I go through 59 doors.
Right.
So 59 learning experiences. Maybe the doors don't shut right away, but maybe you learn and then they eventually shut, and it kind of pivots you into life. I always tell people, I'm giving this away for free, but if you saw that as, oh, okay, so behind one of the doors, I just got to get there. Yeah. You take the chances in everything you want to do in life, because rejection, the more you get rejected, and somebody who was an artist, I know rejection like the back of my hand, it doesn't hurt anymore.
Yeah.
You built like, whatever. You just don't care. You're like, okay, well, at least I asked. And then you're like, and I always see it as like, yes, one more door closed. Now I'm on my way. And I like march off to the second door. So remember that if somebody's not calling you back, I have a great story about this actually.
Yeah.
About how things happen for a crazy reason and you don't see it. But it was a kind of a dating story. And there was one guy that was kind of just being a total jerk to me, kind of playing, causing me confusion. Remember, if you're confused, they don't like you. So it was just crazy. And I remember being like, I don't understand why this is happening. Like, how did things shift? Like, why? And I started to personalize it, and I go, no. Now I'm closer. I learned something from this, and now I'm closer to my path of where I need to be. And there's somebody I need to meet. Well, because of that rejection, I ended up at a dinner with somebody else. Now, this didn't turn into a romantic relationship. Somehow, this person was like, yeah, you're totally not my type, but there was some reason I needed to meet you. And and I said, okay, well, cool. What is it? Yeah. He turned out to be the top performance trainer coach in the world, who happened to be in New York City speaking at Goldman Sachs. Okay.
Oh,
like
God.
Books, everything. He goes, I don't usually get the feeling, but I'm like, something's telling me I have to meet this person. So because of that personal rejection, that I was like, upset over for a day. Yeah. It led me to stay on to meet this performance coach who I now have rapport with, not dating rapport, but is actually somebody that might mentor me. So life is so bizarre. Sometimes dates can turn into business opportunities. Business opportunities can turn into dates. You just have to be very open-minded.
I could not agree more. And I think to that end, right, there's the whole network effect of you meet one person. It's always good to ask, especially if you drive with them, based off of whatever you're talking about. Is there someone else you think I should talk to? Because they have their whole network. You have yours. Imagine just by talking to this one person, then you have access to all those other people. So it just,
and it's like never be afraid to ask. I mean, I had a situation right before we jumped on this podcast. I was trying to get a meeting with these people. I don't like need them right away, but I'm like, I really would like to talk to them because I'm going to need them because things are really, really picking up. And I'd like to have them in my corner. And then the person wrote back, I guess there was a misunderstanding. I said, I just signed this big deal. I've got a big announcement coming out, guys, in December.
Woo!
Stay tuned. And they're like, oh, I don't think they're going to be very happy. Okay, apparently the end of the world is happening outside of my window. But don't fear.
That's the classic
fear.
New York
Keep your faith.
ambiance.
Keep your faith. Don't worry, I'll be back in Colorado soon where it's nice and quiet. No, so yeah, so anyways, they go, oh, I don't think they'd be very happy that you already signed a deal. And I
Yeah,
go, why? It's free money.
right.
They don't have to do anything. They just get to jump on the team and get paid. Like, so I spun it. But miscommunication is a big thing too, especially in marketing and branding. You have to be very clear on your message because it could get misconstrued. And now either I lost this meeting or it wasn't meant to be that I was meant to have this meeting, you know?
100%. Words, people think words don't matter, but they do, right? Even the famous campaigns of Apple, like Think Different, or Nike, Just Do It. Like, you remember those things and it provokes an emotion. And if they just said, Nike, we have shoes, it's like,
Yeah,
okay.
nobody cares.
Right, exactly. So I couldn't agree more about the importance of messaging. And that's why, when you're talking with someone, it's harder to be as thoughtful because when you're writing, you have the time. So when you're talking, obviously be thoughtful, but writing, really take that extra amount of time to be super clear and thoughtful and purposeful. So I think you hit the nail on the head on that.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. No. No, but I think but this is good. So what are some of the challenges that you face being a new business? And how have you gotten over those to help other people with challenges they're going to face in their own businesses?
This one is a really hard one to admit, but I'll share it because it's true, is imposter syndrome.
That's such a big one.
Oh man. I mean, I've had it. It's funny. I feel like it's a spectrum and I've had it in small doses, but in the last, let's say 6 months or so, like when I pivoted, I was like, who am I? Like, this didn't work. Will this work? And really just not feeling confident in myself. And it takes some time when you finally get those compliments, or I've had happy clients being like, this changed everything. Now I have business. Makes so much more sense, etc. In those moments, I literally have like a folder of like written like feedback, positive feedback. So in those moments that I'm like, am I good enough? I can refer back. And I think the biggest problem and the reason a lot of us suffer from imposter syndrome is the way we were raised, right? In terms of when we go to work, let's say a normal corporate job, day one, you feel this internal pressure that like, if I don't know everything, they're going to find someone else that does. No one's born learning. Let's say you're, I don't know, let's say you do, I'll just use marketing. No one's born learning how to do marketing, right? You have to learn what are the different tools, whether it's SEO, whether it's digital advertising, whether it's messaging, whether it's finding the right lighting, even for a picture, right? Like all of these things, no one's born learning to do that. So I think it's giving yourself the grace to figure that out, own what you don't know, and seek out the help, because people would rather you ask than mess up and cost the team money and time. And the last piece of advice I'll add with the imposter syndrome is, as long as you know more than the other person and are actually able to provide results, you don't need to be the best in the world. You just got to know your area in and out and know more than them to be successful. And as long as you're getting them the results, do you have to be, I'm using Oprah, the Oprah of like the talk show world, right? She was like the queen. Do you need to be the queen of every industry to be successful? No, but you got to be better.
Very well said. No, it is true. And imposter syndrome is definitely real and something we all feel. I mean, I felt it a little bit when I was coming out with this book, going, who am I to tell everybody I have the facts and the solutions to live a better life. And then I step back and I go, well, I do. That's why I'm writing the book.
Right.
Because I went through the challenges myself, which was important for me to put in my personal stories in the book. So they had a specific example of what I went through and how I was able to pivot out of that. But it's true. None of us are born with what we end up great at. We become great at those things. Now, some of us have, obviously, all of us have God-given talents, but not all of us discover what those are, unfortunately. So
Right.
being able to really tap into your authentic self and
Mhm.
doing what makes you happy, not what makes your family happy or your friends happy or what you think will make people happy, will help you find your purpose. And your purpose is where you feel you live a life very fulfilled. So it's really important to drown out the noise of, are people going to like me? I got news for you. Half the people aren't going to like you. So just get over it. And there's nothing you did, right?
Yeah.
So once you go to that, and if the world ends, we might not hear this episode because it feels like it's ending outside of my window. Can you hear it? They won't.
No, I don't hear anything.
They won't stop. It's like New York City sirens, like, rah, rah, rah. I mean, I hope whatever is going on, they're okay. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. They like, it's nuts
It's
out.
crazy. See, there's sirens outside my window. I hope you don't hear them either.
I know, but it's like you can't get away from it, no matter how high up you are, no matter how new the building is, no matter. And usually we'll go into like a studio, but sometimes you got to just, we're on Zoom, so it was easier just to, do it from here. I'm on back-to-back calls, but no, this is really good. So what do you feel like, before we wrap up, what would be like, you probably mentioned them before, but just kind of to summarize and circle back, we're going to see a big boom in businesses. A lot of people are going to lose their jobs. A lot of people are going to lose their savings. A lot of people are going to lose a lot. This economy is very dark. And I think a lot of people are kind of in the dark of just how bad it's about to get. We recently saw one of the largest cryptocurrency exchanges implode. We thought, okay, if I wasn't directly involved, I'm okay. Wrong. It was a trickle down effect that people didn't see coming. Okay.
Yeah.
So everybody's going, hopefully they're going to arrest Sam Bankman-Fried. No, I think he's in the Bahamas. I'm telling you, what is going on right now? No, but things are gonna get dark. Things are expensive. Inflation's out of control. It's gonna get worse. Amazon's laying people off. But here's the thing: in order to create opportunity, you have to have a positive attitude. So you have to take these downturns because it's gonna get bad, and you have to find the strength and the opportunity and the solution in it. I'm telling you, we're going to have so many rich people at the end of the day, but it's up to you. If you're listening to this right now and you've been sitting on an idea, this is your sign.
Yeah.
To start doing it. And sometimes I feel like when we get fired from a job, because I've been fired before, it turns into something you can't believe. It was fate. It was meant to be. It pivots you in a direction that you want to go. So what would be your advice to these future entrepreneurs?
It's funny because I think a lot of people take these big company jobs, let's say the Amazons of the world, and they partly take it because of the security, which
illusion.
Right. And unfortunately, especially in the big companies, you are a bit of a number, right? And by taking control of your income and providing that solution, you're able to take the power back. Yes, it's the safety of the monthly check. Yes, it's the safety of the quote big company, but clearly that's not necessarily the safest option. Someone recently told me that being an entrepreneur, yes, it's riskier, but you're actually, because you know that ahead of time, you're already prepared for those risks. Whereas someone that takes the safe option, this happens and you're like, oh my God, right? So as the entrepreneur, as you're starting out, again, going back to the point, set yourself up to then, a year from now, not be like, oh my God, I'm not actually solving the problem. Talk to those people, validate. Your idea might be great. And the other question is, how big is the problem, right? Is the problem only going to help 2 people, right? Let's say, for example, you live in a small town and it's very specific to that small town. And of that small town of 100 people, you're only really helping 5. Maybe the market's not big enough. So you need to think, is the market big enough while still niching down? So for me, pet businesses, so a lot of businesses I'm turning away, people that are realtors or in business or beauty or something like that. But I am helping those people. And because they know I'm speaking their language and I know what I'm talking about, that market is big enough. So biggest piece of advice, try your idea, but validate before investing in a fancy website, in building a course. There's a term called MVP, which stands for minimal viable product. So really create the roughest version as fastest you can do, fail fast. And that's my advice. People all the time I hear will spend 6 figures plus on an idea that they think is great. And then they come on the other side and no one wants it. So validate first before spending all that crazy money.
That is very, very well said. I've seen that happen before. I saw a company go bankrupt because they thought that their flavored sparkling water was going to take off, and they had a chemical in it that was just causing people to go away. So, but they,
I don't want to, what does it mean to go away?
Well, like
For Loco?
No, they didn't even make it that big. It was really sad to see, but the guy just didn't listen. But yeah, it's so important to make sure that your product, that you're actually creating a solution and that the product works before you go and you mass produce. So I do like that validation part, right? Validate yourself, but also validate your ideas. Which is great. Well, this has been awesome. Thank you for taking a niche business that you're in, which is a pet business, and making it broad as well. So we have people in all businesses, and we could make this kind of inspirational because it is scary times right now.
100% and absolutely. Yeah.
Well, this is great. So, okay. So where can people find you, contact you, learn more about you, especially if they have a pet business? How can they
get for sure. So we have a website. It is be-spotted.com. Or if they go to my Instagram, I'm already giving a bunch of free tips and they can also message me there. And the handle is @be_spotted.
Okay. So @be_spotted on Instagram and then be-spotted.com.
You got it.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, you guys definitely go check out her stuff. A lot of good information here. And is there a contact on your site if they have any questions for you or anything like that?
Yep, there's a whole contact form and we usually respond within 24 hours. We're here for you and we want to make your business flourish and have all the pet parents saying, sign me up.
I love it. I love it. Such a positive influence on the world. Jamie Ruden, very proud of you. Congratulations. Keep doing what you're doing, making a difference. And I appreciate everyone that tunes into this podcast every week. We are trying to make you happier, healthier, and wealthier. So hopefully we're doing just that. If you liked this episode, please leave us a review, leave us a rating. Share it with your friends, share it with your neighbors, share it with the mailman. I don't care who you share it with your dog. Just share it. It helps us spread the word so we can continue bringing on great guests like Jamie Ruden, CEO of Dog Spotted. So check that out, and we will be back next week with another exciting episode. Stay blessed, and we'll see you next time to find out who's next.
Hey, your host here, Madison Malloy. Please make sure to subscribe to the show on all podcast platforms and please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. Also, if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@nexttomadison.com. I thank you again for listening. Bye.